This is an improvised anchor mount made out of a regular trailer roller put together. And I just have my heavy-duty Danforth up there out of the way. That's all thought out so that it's easy to rig without being in the way. That rocket launcher tube there, the white one, is actually some PVC pipe, and that's where it stores all my turnbuckles for the stays. I'm always afraid that something's going to vibrate loose and create a real replacement problem, an expensive one too. So that's what I do. I just route the stays there out of the way till we're ready to rig. This front mast holder bungees on and disconnects really quickly so that I can get rid of that, put it in the back of the car as soon as I've got the mast stepped. Here's what the boat looks like parked on the trailer in my yard in between missions, so to speak. I'll show you a few of the custom things I've put on it just for interest. You notice here there's two trailer hitches. There's the one here. This one is welded on, and of course the one furthest to the right. Now that is on a steel 2x2 box, which I made as an extension. And how that works is I tow it this way, and then when I get to the boat ramp, to avoid putting the wheels of the vehicle in the water, I pull these two pins here and extend it, put the pins back in, and that allows me to trailer the boat into the water, because as you see, this trailer is not a typical bunk type trailer with any rollers. It has poppets. It's actually really set up more for a deeper keeled boat. You can see a little bit of the stub keel there. In total draft is 14 inches when she's launched. But at any rate, that's what works for me. Here is some temporary prototype trailer guides. They seem to work pretty well. So once the boat gets launched and it's in the water on a mooring, I can bring the trailer home and finish them off. They are absolutely essential for getting centered on the trailer so that it comes down right and is safe to trailer on the poppets. The poppets themselves I had to rework. Got a machine shop to make some new plates for me, and I took them off and prime coated them. These bungee cords are essential for holding the plates so that when the boat slides on, it catches them just right. Otherwise they flop over and all sorts of unpredictable things happen. This is my rig for carrying the gas tank. I like the idea of having all the gas and hoses for the outboard overboard, and so I just made this little box up and tacked it onto the side of the motor mount, and that way everything's overboard. So if there's any fire, it'll all blow astern. It should minimize any problems, and if there's any leakage, it just goes overboard. My latest project is to open some space in the V-berth, and when I did that, all of this flotation was in there, these bats of polystyrene foam. So all of that and that there were excavated several cubic feet, but it's well worth having, I think, the extra stowage. Since there's really never enough space on a boat, I decided to liberate all of this space which is underneath the port settee by putting this slam hatch in. It was almost entirely wasted space. I mean, about half of it was foot space for whoever sat on or whoever slept in the port berth, but this way I have plenty of room to put all sorts of incidentals that are often needed when docking. They're in quick reach when you get to the dock or you need something in a hurry, so I like having that. The V-berth project consisted of these gray hatches, which I put in. I actually cut the plywood. Now, the original boat had absolutely no framing in this whole V-berth space here in the forepeak. So what I did was, when I cut the hatches out, I put a bulkhead right under here, and that is the back of this. And I cut these access holes out, so there's lots of easy to reach stowage for things, particularly when I'm cooking. I typically sit on the starboard settee and work right here. The butane stove is under here, but this is generally my cook stove, and I can reach things over here, which makes it pretty easy to do. So anyway, having cut some of the integrity out by taking these big hatches out, I needed to reinforce this. So I ran a 2x4 from here all the way up to the forepeak, and now it's plenty solid. While I was at it, I put these fiddles on the side of the hatches just for things like this, so they don't roll around. They make little handles for me, so it gives me lots more space than I used to have. I probably increased the amount of stowage space on the boat by 200%. Now typically when I'm on the boat with friends or just taking videos, I don't have anybody over in the settee, so that leaves all that open for storage of fenders and buoys and what have you. Get over to starboard here. Fuse box. Plenty of length for a short guy like me, only 5'6". Could be a little bit softer, but it's all right. Today's project is going to be to mount the depth sounder. I elected to get a fish finder type. Not that I'm so much interested in fishing, as they're fairly inexpensive and they give you a much better profile of the ground, give you more information about the ground you're over, and I think that this is particularly handy for anchoring. We have here in Maine certain anchorages that have foul spots that you wouldn't want to lose some good ground tackle, so it's really nice to see some of the bottom and have an idea what you're into. Now, today's project is going to be running wires from the mount there from the fish finder through here, and then for a mount system that I have figured out for the transducer that's going to mount on the engine bracket so that I'll be able to retract that for trailering. This contraption here is a screen which replaces 2 of the washboards in the companionway. Absolutely indispensable for summer sleeping when we get lots of mosquitoes. Usually when you're anchored out away from the land, they're not too bad, but they do find you after a while, and it's nice to be able to shut them out and still have a breeze. So I knocked this together from actually just some scrap wood that I had lying around. It's much easier to deal with than the typical companionway washboards, which I find are always in the wrong place and always have to be moved no matter what I do. Oh, what is your problem? What is your problem? We'll eat in a minute. Hang on. And go lay down. Good boy.